Okay, Shalom Akim, Kahalayim Na Yahabashim Yashab Hashim Rachakudash, and double honors to the Emerson Apostles and the elder bishops of Great Millstone. Thadia Shah for the strength and all to make this video, and Yaratazar, they find this video edifying and exhorting. Edifying means to build up, exhorting means to encourage. So, just wanted to make a video as I was watching this as well. I'm about like 37 minutes in. I had to rewind it because there was a part that I wanted to make a point on, of course, with the scriptures, but as the title says here, from this podcaster, I say podcaster, I'm not even sure what to even call it, but I would just call it a podcast, but it's very informative. Many brothers have probably heard of him, the Diary of a CEO. So, probably seen him, he's seen his face across YouTube. But yeah, what made me actually start to watch this, because as it says here in the thumbnail, in 3 months we'll enter a famine. And of course, scriptures have talked about famine, of which Israelites would suffer through. Of course, the heathens as well. But of course, famine, in the time of the end, which we're in right now. Of course, there's the famine of the word, and then there's the physical famine as well. So it also says here, financial crash expert, in 3 months we'll enter a famine. If Iran doesn't surrender, it's the end. So I'm gonna play it, and Yaratazar, we're going to get into some scriptures as well, because America, of course, aka scripturally known as Babylon the Great, it is that destroying mountain that goes to collect resources, destroy the places that they've collected those resources from, and pretty much just store it up for themselves. So, I'm gonna get that precept out, and we'll start off this video shortly. This is Jeremiah 51 and verse 25. Behold, I am against thee, O destroying mountain, saith the Lord Yahweh, which destroyest all the earth, and I will stretch out mine hand upon thee, and roll thee down from the rocks. I will make thee a burnt mountain. Of course, mountains represent rulerships, by the way. They're metaphors for like governments, you could say that. And also where it says, "O destroying mountain, saith the Lord Yahweh, which destroys all the earth," because Esau's been going from place to place to really just destroy the whole structure of things. Structure in terms of socially, economically, even geographically as well, or really I should say by the land itself, defiling the land itself. That's what I'm trying to say. Just couldn't find the right word, terrain or something. But yeah, nevertheless, because he's of course, as the Spaniards came over to the Americas. So I believe the Spaniards, the French, of course Britain as well, when it came to the North American tribes, what am I saying? The northern tribes of Israel, which are mainly you got the Native American Indians as well as the Latin Americans as well, and so I would say you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians. But anyways, going into the history, which the Aratas, I'm gonna start that off again after I finish the Joseph was an example of conviction series. I just want to finish the chapters off, the remainder ones, and then I'll get into the Latin American history again. Right, so what was the point I was making? Yeah, so Esau was getting into, he invaded the lands first of all, because of course when you get into the Inca tribe, the Mayans, of course the Aztecs, those goes into the northern tribes. Of course in their ignorance, they call themselves that, but those goes into the northern tribes, as well as the the Seminole Indians, of course the Native American Indians, with all the other sub tribes as well, like Cherokee and whatnot. All of those, if we were in those lands, of course, considering from the time of the Assyrian captivity, I believe it's 2 Kings 17. This is just me briefly touching it because I want to keep to the point in this video. In 2 Kings 17, with that Syrian captivity, then they had to flee, and of course the Most High put them in those lands in the Americas. Then they dwelt there, and of course the point is Esau then came later. Of course the captives, not captives, but the trying to find a name. But yeah, the oppressors came over, which is Esau, Edom, to not just they tried to yield the land, of course, get the gold, especially from Gad and Reuben, as well as I believe actually it's probably Latin American history as well, But the point is that Esau's came to steal, kill, and destroy, man. So just get that quickly as well. So with all of this that he's doing, because it's all related to the point of him being a destroying mountain, which is Babylon the Great, by the way. Alright, still, kill, destroy. So it's the same way, the US-Iran conflict. So he's done it to Jake. He's done it to the other nations as well. And quite literally, he's actually been a destroying mountain, with the Hiroshima Nagasaki situation as well, where he sent that atomic bomb as well. As the scriptures say, he had power to send fire from heaven. So anyways, let's read this. John 10:10. The thief cometh not, but for to steal, kill, and to destroy. I am come that they might have life, and that they might have it more abundantly. You see? So that's the point. Let me read this again and we'll get back to the video. Jeremiah 51:25. Behold, I am against thee, O destroying mountain, saith the Lord Yahweh, which destroys all the earth. And as we listed many examples, them going to oppress Gad and Reuben, which is again the Native American Indians, that's Gad, and the Seminole Indians, that's Reuben, which are like they resided in the Florida state of America. And also you got the other Latin American tribes as well. I mentioned the Inca tribe, which is what they were formerly known as, of course. The Inca, what else? Peruvian, no, that's the modern day name. The Mayans, the Aztecs, so Esau was doing that destroying, man, upon Israel. And of course right now you got the US and Iran, War II. So of course, there's an incentive there. But really, in the grand scheme of things, there's an incentive, because it all, as the scriptures say, he causeth all, both small and great. Revelation 13, verse 16 onwards. That causing, this is part of that causing. He's going to put pressure upon people where their livelihoods, their ability to feed themselves will be hindered. So anyways, let's get to the video.
Wars in the aftermath make people focus on equality, not to allow that horror to happen once more, and then we forget and do the whole damn thing again.
One of the surprising things I learned the other day was that the country that is estimated to have the biggest reserve of oil is Venezuela.
Yep.
The third country on this list that is estimated to have the biggest reserve of oil is Iran.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't take a genius. Funnily enough,
two countries have added, yeah. The second country being America?
Well, it says Saudi Arabia.
Saudi Arabia, well, that's already an American vassal.
Yeah, that's already they're basically partners with America already. And funnily enough, the fourth one is Canada. And if you're listening a lot to Trump's rhetoric, he said he was going to take Canada and make it the 51st state or something.
Yeah.
So it doesn't feel to me to be a coincidence that the countries that the US are invading and decapitating their leaders are the country that have the biggest oil supplies.
Yeah.
And Trump has already said, immediately, he said...
Imagine, Nero, this cruel lord, started off with Venezuela, man. Nicolas Maduro, capturing him, and then obviously capturing the oil. Because all of this really is orchestrated. First of all, spiritually, it's already ordained. It's already written out, by Yahweh Shem Yahshua. This is the Most High story, Yahweh's story. Right now, of course, Esau as well, on that physical level, is also orchestrated too. Because first of all, they wanna institute the chip. And of course, they need these type of events in order to instigate or initiate the acceptance of it. Of course, you got Neuralink on one hand, then you got of of course, what else? Of course, DARPA on the other hand, which are just, just the two major companies in terms of chip implants. There'll be more, or there'll be more that would be used to aid in the infrastructure of the system.
After taking out Maduro in Venezuela, pulling him out of his bed with his wife and flying him back to the US, he already said the oil's on the way back to America.
You see? John 10:10, he cometh but to steal, kill, and destroy. Esau is that thief. Jeremiah 51:25, oh, destroying mountain, which means this is the rulership. Babylon, aka America, this is that rulership, or which goes to destroy the earth.
Yeah.
One might assume that much of the motivation here with Iran is when they were in negotiations with them, maybe they weren't playing ball with the oil. Maybe they were threatening something with the oil. And maybe it's such an economic risk.
Or maybe most of Trump's friends, if he has them, are oil executives, and they can see the benefit for them in controlling global oil. And the one part they can't control is Iran.
But I mean, it's backfired pretty horrifically.
I think one of the great sayings in humanity is, it's looked like a good idea at the time. Then you do it, and you realize you underestimated your opponent. You don't realize how difficult it is. Like you mentioned, you're talking about how being wealthy can make you dissociate from the problems that ordinary people have. It can also make you dissociate from reality in general. You don't realize how difficult it is to do something you want to have done. So all these oil executives and people that Trump socializes with could have thought, take out Iran, America dominates the global oil thing, we're all going to be rich. Okay? But they don't realize that Iran's been aware of this possibility for 40 years.
Yeah, let the weak say I'm strong. Trump, of course, in his pride that of whom he walks in, of which he walks in, he thinks, all right, America's military is the best in the world. Got all these NATO bases or American bases in these countries, allied NATO countries. And he thinks, oh, okay, just a clean wipeout. He probably thought he could do the same thing that he did to Venezuela, to Iran, but Iran was like, no, you tripping, man. As Jake say over there in America as well. But anyways, let me get a preset, because I did mention it, but I'm gonna read it out as well. I'm gonna start from verse 9. So Joel 3:9. It says, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, the heathen nations. Prepare war, wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. It says, beat your plowshares, which are farming equipments, into swords, and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. That's why, Iran's been preparing behind the scenes. And, of course, trying to get their nuclear arsenal up to date as well. Which is of course the narrative that's being put out here. So that, but of course, America, aka Nero, don't want that. They don't want Iran. They don't want the weak to say they're strong, especially Iran over there. But again, it's all orchestrated by Yahweh Shem Yahshai. It's all orchestrated. So again, that's really part of it. That's why it's been quite. There's been a strong friction with Trump trying to have his way with Iran. You've killed a leader and certain officials, but at the end of the day, he's still fighting back though. So it ain't gonna be an easy take. But nevertheless, though, you always gotta remember that first of all, the MOTB's gotta happen. So they ain't gonna use them nukes yet. The MOTB gotta happen first before it's like, alright, go all out. For the most that allows them to go all out, which really they're gonna go all out on America, as we all know. So anyways, this is just to be as a faith boost. So let me see if there's something else in the video, then I'm gonna close out with one more preset.
They don't realize that Iran's been aware of this possibility for 40 years, and they're prepared. They're far better prepared than the Americans and the Israelis thought.
So you've got 5 scenarios laid out on these cards in front of you here that you think could happen next. I'm going to ask you to explain to me what the 5 scenarios are, and then tell me which one you think is most likely to occur.
So scenario 1, which is the one that I think Trump is I think Israel wants this one. Iran is destroyed. Okay, if that happens, we're all gone, because to destroy Iran, you're going to have to use nuclear weapons.
And again, they can't do that for prophecy's sake, because we have to have the MOTB first. That system's got to be established. That prophecy's got to come to pass first before that final destruction of America. Because if nukes start flying now, it's like things are disrupted, man. So of course, again, as the scripture said, the Most High is not a man that he should lie. I mean, that's Numbers 23 and 19. So let me let him talk now.
Okay, you can't destroy it without obliterating it, as nuclear weapons can do. And that's the scariest. I don't think it's going to happen. My main hope here is that Iran realizes that possibility, and they've got a way to neutralize not America's nuclear weapons, but Israel's.
You think it's a possibility?
It's a possibility, and it's what scares the shit out of me, because if this happens, then we're all dead. Obviously, a nuclear bomb doesn't just blow up an individual target. Everything within reach gets exploded into the atmosphere. That's what led people to realize that you couldn't have a nuclear war back in the days when we had mutually assured destruction as the policy. If you attack a country, then you will also die.
But can't they use narrow nuclear weapons? Is that not a thing?
Well,
Smaller nuclear weapons?
well, again, if the country is smaller, you're talking about destroying Europe. The weapons you'd need to make sure you got every last potential element of Iran neutralized. You're talking about bombing something which is, virtually the size of Western Europe. The amount of weapons you've got to drop to do that. And you've got to, if you don't get it right, then they're going to come at you with what they've got left.
The world has dropped nuclear weapons before and people survived. Other neighboring countries survived.
Only twice, and only small weapons. The weapons we're talking about in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, they're about equivalent to 20,000 tons of TNT. We're now talking of weapons that are 20 million tons of TNT, the biggest nuclear weapons.
Yeah, man. It's a wrap for Babylon, though. It's a wrap for Babylon. Alright, let me get this one. This is Habakkuk 2 and verse 5. It says, Yea, also, because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man. And of course, that wine is also reference to his philosophies. It's a metaphor for his philosophies that he's used to influence and corrupt these other nations as well, especially Israel. He is a proud man, neither keepeth at home. Of course, an example is today, going out there to Venezuela, going out there to Iran, to attain control of the oil transports. But yeah, so it says, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied. That's why you always got to go and acquire and acquire and acquire. He's got that never satisfied mindset. He's not content. He wants to keep acquiring, or stealing, I should say. Is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. Hence why the petrodollar exists. They trade in dollars. They don't trade in any other currency. But the BRICS and these other nations are working on a defense against that. Of course, in a gradual process. But nevertheless, America still wants to stay on the throne, even though that throne is withering. Gradually, well, I say gradually, but it's increasing in its wither rate, in terms of how much it's breaking down, how fast it's breaking down. It's increasing. And as I named the video, I'll just read it out. So it's pressure to the spiritually unprepared. Because you got Esau, Edom, the elites, thinking that they're prepared. They got their bunkers and all the underground cities and infrastructures that they're gonna, roll into when the nuclear missiles fly out, man. I don't know if the movie was called 0 Day or something like that. But yeah, either 0 Day on Netflix or another one, where they went into their bunkers, man. But nevertheless, if you're spiritually unprepared, which we know the spirit conquers over the flesh anyway, so any preparation of the flesh is only temporary. It's temporal. So it's that just you gotta know that as a fact. But spiritually unprepared, that's when it's like, you know, all bets are off, really. You know, but for us, the way we prepare spiritually is, again, simply by praying. You know, of course, we do our fasts. Of course, again, brothers that can do fast, of course, because you know you got ailments or whatnot. But you know, you pray, you read your scriptures, because that's also a form of nourishing our spirits, nourishing our minds. You know, so prayer, fasting, of course, reading the scriptures, meditating upon the scriptures, thinking upon the scriptures. Because when you think, you know, it puts you on a certain frequency when it comes to the spirit as well. It's simple, man. You know, you think positive thoughts, you know, you start to be in a more calmer mood, and even things around you get affected in that manner of way. So the same thing with the scriptures as well. We meditate upon the scriptures through the spirit of Yahweh Hashem Yashah Rachak Wadash becomes more denser in your spirit. Alright, so let me read this, then I'll close it out. So Psalms 115:11. Ye that fear the Lord Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, trust in the Lord, He is their help and their shield. You know, so again, you know, that's a little point there. LORD in the capitals is normally referring to Yahweh, but of course we also say Bahashem Yahushai, you know, because it's through Yahushai, He's our mediator to get onto Yahweh, you know, to get the mercy and the grace from Yahweh. You know, so that's just to clarify the point. But anyways, ye that fear the Lord Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, trust in the Lord, He is their help and our shield and their shield. So He's our help and our shield, man, for Israel. And for those of us that do fear Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai, not so-called Jesus Christ, and His name isn't God, by the way. You say that in ignorance. His name is Yahweh. That's the name of God, which means He is, He exists, or He is to be. You know, He is the existing one. And then you got Yahushai, which means He delivers or He saves. So you gotta get the right names first. Then you gotta have the belief, which of course comes through Harahak Wadash, which means the Spirit Holy, aka the Holy Spirit. And of course, as Yahushai then sups with you, metaphorically speaking, having dinner with you, which means you're able to understand these scriptures. You understand the breakdowns of the scriptures through our apostles, of course, of Great Millstone. Then, you know, you'll be in good hands with Yahushai ultimately, you know, with Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. And then in a time where people are going to be stressing out and not knowing what to do, you'll be fine. You'll be able to eat, you'll be able to drink, as Yahweh Bashem Yahushai said within the scriptures, Isaiah 65:13 and Job 5, I believe verse 19 onwards. But yeah, I'll leave it at that. Okay, I'll link the video in the description. Shalom, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, Barakatha.